Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
All right.
I've got cat hair all over me. So you're gonna get allergic reactions.
Yeah, I think I might.
Where are we gonna start today, dude? There's so many.
Well, I want to start off with just start with the Bjergsen thing. Just big news, bam. Yeah.
Yep. It's my turn today. Episode 13, right? Are we 12 or 13?
Yeah, we're 13.
All right, rightio. So by the time this video is out, there is going to be chaos on my Discord because my Discord's changed forever.
Yeah.
So, my Discord is officially changed. It's not really going to be just the public Coach Curtis anymore. It's just going to be a much smaller, tight-knit community.
Wait, so yours is listed on...
Yes, but it's like listed as like a public server and everything.
So what's going to happen now?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that, maybe remove it.
So if you type up like a League of Legends server, you can like find Coach Curtis.
Yeah, that's all going to explode.
Oh, what's your Discord? The Coaches Club.
Yeah.
What is the Coaches Club? What's the shittest name for a Discord? What does that mean? Like, it sounds like it's like a club for coaches.
Yeah, but I never wanted it to, again, I never wanted
Yeah, but why would
to
you
be
never?
found.
You never thought about changing the name?
Curtis's Club. Coach's Club. It was Coach Curtis, Coach Curtis.
Just Coach Curtis.
It's called Coach Curtis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not really a place, is it? It's got to be called a place.
Okay.
The Coach Curtis Club. You could have called it CCC.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be 2 because I wanted CC, Anyway. So welcome to another episode of Broken by Concept, episode 13. Pumping them out.
So there was a sort of a comment saying that so you're always odd number and I'm always an even number for the intros. That makes it actually easy to remember because one day we will forget. Yeah. We're just pretty good at it right now.
So odd, even.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, that's right.
Easy.
And do you prefer it's Sunday afternoon for us, right? All right.
Yeah.
Do you prefer recording podcasts on Sunday or Thursdays?
Probably Thursdays. I'm fried at the moment because usually I like to have a few beers on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Unwind a little bit. I actually get that. I don't know how many times you've been asked this, but people are so confused at probably our work ethic.
Mm.
So I get asked that all the time. Like, how do you do everything?
Yeah.
How do you do the podcast?
Well, you do
all
a
the
lot
YouTube
more
content. You stream. You answer questions 24/7 on the Discord. You reply to all the YouTube comments.
You visibly do like a lot more than me.
Yeah, because you're kind of behind the scenes doing your SoloQ. But and I think it's.
What do you respond? How do you respond to that?
I mean, I am a workaholic.
Yeah, you're addicted.
I don't really have a social life, do I? I don't hang out with friends.
So having one beer on a Saturday night, Friday, that's a big occasion.
That's huge for me, straight up. Nathan knows this, actually. I feel guilty.
Yeah.
I actually feel guilty for, like, watching a movie and drinking a beer.
Curtis would be, like, drinking his beer, and he'd be like, Nathan, like, I feel like I got to be working right now. Like, there's so much people, like, asking me questions. I got YouTube comments going on. Like,
I'm not good. And it's
Nathan, this is my idea for the next video. What do you think?
I can't not talk about work either. It's bad. I mean, it's not healthy. It's something I'm working on.
You'll figure it out later.
I'll figure it out eventually. But also I enjoy what I do. So
that's right, man.
And my philosophy as well, our philosophy in life is like, I just love the pursuit of excellence through your job is more satisfying than relaxation. The feeling of doing a great video and really putting out a great piece of content or doing a great coaching session or doing a great stream or whatever trumps the feeling of like chilling and watching Netflix,
But that feeling, okay, so the high is better, but that feeling only lasts for like max like a day.
Yeah.
Or even a couple of hours. And then you're back to like stressed out. Like, what's my next video? What's the next thing I gotta do? What's the next thing I gotta do?
I mean, that's one thing that's taken a toll on me in my YouTube is like my standard is so high. Like even if you look at the progression of my champion guides, they've always gotten better.
Yeah.
Like, I hate looking at my old guys because they're just garbage.
Yeah.
And now I look at my new ones, like, I can genuinely, I think these are great. But then I always got to level it up, What are they going to look like in Season 11? What are my videos going to look like in Season 11? How can I level up my content game, But anyway.
Do you think your next guides for Season 11 are going to be just out of this world?
I think I'm going to be, overall, I'm much better at knowing what to talk about and what
structuring it.
Well, I think structure is quite good at the moment. It's more about
you're up with the structure.
The way I articulate thoughts is where I think most of the improvement needs to happen.
That's the same with me. I need to do it in
terms of more. Like, just more concise, short, sharp, concise, actionable, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
What will give this person the most results or the best quality results? I don't need to dick around. I just want to make it... Because mine are long, not because I want them to be long. They're long because I'm trying to get all the information within the video. So there's a lot of... if I can refine my videos to like an hour or an hour and 20, but still get the same amount of value in the video, that would be great, But anyway, if people ask that question, if you're wondering why or how I do it, it's just...
Something's just wrong with you, Curtis.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is just me, right? I just get enjoyment from it.
That's right.
So there's a lot to cover today. A lot of things have happened, and like you said, I think we should kick it off with the Bjergsen.
Yep. So big news.
Big news. Yep.
Quite shocking news, really.
Yeah, I never would have saw it coming.
You didn't see it coming?
No,
I didn't
not
see it
at
coming.
all. I mean, okay. So Bjergsen moving to head coach, right? Of TSM. Now, why do you find this shocking for you personally?
Okay, so let's unpack this, right? So the interesting thing about players moving to coaching positions, most of them, it's like they're towards the end of their career. Like they're visibly getting worse,
And they're not good anymore.
Yeah, or I mean, they could maybe still compete, but Bjergsen clearly could still compete. Just won an LCS, dude. Everyone's going to think about 0-6 at Worlds, right?
What a shocking way to end your career.
Yeah, I'd say that's not where he wanted to end. And that's what everyone will probably remember, unfortunately. But the thing that makes sense to me, and you have to watch the TSM announcement video for this, is that he mentioned that he actually thought about this. He's been thinking about this the whole year. And he even was considering it in between the splits of this year.
That's so toxic. Like to have that
if
already in your mind.
If you're thinking about that as a player, you're done.
You're done, yeah.
Which has actually surprised me how well he played the last
me
split
too.
in summer.
I mean, props to him for winning and playing well in split 2.
With that on his mind.
That is unbelievable. People don't understand, as a pro player, having mental baggage, how much that affects your level of play. I mean, you even see it in SoloQ. If you go into a SoloQ game and you're thinking about all the outer game shit, you're done. Like, you're not going to have a good game. So he's obviously does maybe meditation.
He's a professional.
He is a professional. I mean, definitely the closest to a professional we've got in league in the West.
Yeah, in the West, for sure.
I mean, he is a great role model. He's probably one of the only, so far anyway, it's like a very obvious role model.
I mean, he is the NLCS, he's the face.
Yeah.
And now that's gone. So the thing about, and this is my question I pose, is like, okay, so retiring, this goes for just all athletes in
how
in
old
all
was he, by
sports.
the way? Do you know?
Mid-20s.
Okay.
He's retiring when he's still at arguably his peak.
Yeah.
Still very good.
Isn't it kind of like Michael Jordan in a way? Michael Jordan could have kept playing.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He chose not to.
So my question to you is, do you think that that's the best way to retire? We're not even talking about the position of going head coach and all. Let's say he retired in 10 years time, but he still could play.
Yeah.
Do you think that athletes should retire, when they're at some of their best? I
mean, I just don't think...
Is that a good way to go out?
I mean, I actually think every single person is... I don't think there should be any rules around it. I think it's just one of those things where it's so situational and it's incredibly dependent on the person.
It's a personal choice.
It's just a personal choice. Like, I mean, the way I view it, right, it's like... League is, like we said many times, it's a confidence game and it's a mental game. Like, yes, there are differences in just raw ability and reaction times and game understanding at the highest level. That exists. But, from our experiences, coaching, or for me, coaching at a higher level and seeing what is the difference between some of these top players, it is largely mental. And I think that as soon as a player, like you said, is either doubting their level of play or severely loses their confidence, loses their identity as a player, maybe questions whether they should be doing it in the first place, has issues outside of the game, like massive issues outside of the game, or is already contemplating going down a differing path, whether it's as a caster, as a content creator, as a streamer, as a coach, as a whatever they want to be, that is, it's very difficult to come back as a player and play your best. Because, okay, my personal take on it is, if you are not willing to give it your all and play at your best, then you should quit. That's the way I view it.
Yeah,
I believe
nice and simple.
Yes, it's easy for us to say because like, we're not there, and they could easily, Bjergsen could have easily played the next, 5 years, received a great paycheck, but maybe not played his best and, maybe come second, third, or whatever it is for the next few years. But it's like, the thing I really respect about Bjergsen is he probably knows he's not going to be able to play his best next year.
Oh, if that's on his mind, then
he knows that.
Then it's done.
And I respect it because he could have easily taken the easy money as a player and played it out, then gone into coaching. But he's like, you know what? If I want to, be the biggest value to this organization, it's actually me as a coach.
Okay, so
I love that.
This is the next couple of things here. So, So he also said in the announcement video as well, he feels like he could potentially be more of an impact to the organization of TSM as a head coach or like manager or something like that, right? Is that true versus being a player?
Oh, man. I still think one player will always have more of an influence than any amount of coaching staff.
I agree.
One player in the game being that role model is infinitely more powerful. Right? Yes, a coach can have you can't even say how. I think coaches can have a huge effect on a team, but
the player
at the end of the day, they are in the game, and what comes out of their mouth is always going to be more powerful than a coach, especially if it's the star player.
Yeah.
If it's the star player, that is where some really powerful shit can go down. So yeah,
when he said that, I was like, no, Bjergsen, unfortunately not. Like, you will have more impact as a star player on any team, like you just said.
Yeah.
Because you're playing, these people, like, obviously people are going to respect the coaching staff, but my thing as well is, where does this seed come from? Why, like, again, he's mid-20s.
Where did it come from?
Where does it come from? Like something just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't feel right.
We need a Bjergsen to be around for another 5 years.
I mean, okay, we
There's
don't know
this constant pressure of young 18, 19-year-old rookies coming in all the time.
We don't know the inner workings of Bjergsen, right? We don't know what's gone in on both his mind, and we don't know what's gone on within TSM.
Yeah.
Now, it could be many things. It could be from him personally. Maybe he versed some really young mechanical players in SoloQ, in scrims, in Chinese SoloQ, in Korean SoloQ. Maybe he just realized, wow, I don't see myself being able to compete with these guys. Like, they're going to catch up to me, and I know that I can't really be the best anymore. Maybe he felt like he didn't have what it took to be an internationally competitive mid laner anymore. We don't know what went on in scrims, right? And things like that. Or it could have come from the feeling, and I felt like this before, I felt like this when I was a player as well, back in 2015, 2016. I felt like I needed to do every job. And maybe Bjergsen just felt really unsatisfied with the coaching within his career. And maybe he's like, you know what?
I just got to do this. No one else is going to do it.
No one else is going to do this. I'm the one who has the knowledge as a player and knows what it's like to perform on stage and these things like this. And maybe he just feels like he needs to take responsibility and like really change the game. Maybe he feels like he has some innovative approaches that he wants to his take on it. Maybe he wants to completely shift the way coaching is done in the West. I mean, I don't know. Which that would make sense to me because we've already said this before. He hasn't had great coaches around him. I think Path is an absolute joke. I think he's a failure. And, that's the quality of the coaching staff that he's had around him. And I actually also think that he's just had yes men around him his whole career. I think he's had yes men. He's had people that are afraid, either not knowledgeable enough at their craft to give Bjergsen the insight in order to become a better player, or he has literally had people that are too scared to say no to him and not step up to him and just said yes, Bjergsen, just yes. That's my hunch.
Yeah,
it could be completely
you can't go to the next level with yes men around you. It's and the thing about that concept right there is I just got to do it myself. I mean, I think Bjergsen can be an exceptional coach.
Definitely.
Like he really can. You know, if he, I mean, I feel like he's the type of guy to all in on everything. You know, he even said there, he's going to make mistakes. He's unaware he's going to make mistakes. But
he's also got Jack as his right hand man.
Yeah, right. Good old. We talk about Jack a bit, our little former analyst guy.
Yeah, so I was talking to Jack, and obviously Jack's quite close. I'm quite close to Jack, and Jack's quite close to us, given our history. And I mean, Jack is a very good balance to Bjergsen, because Jack has so much experience as an actual like coach, working with a myriad of teams and on the strategic side of the game. And I think that having that, from my experience with Jack is he doesn't have a player's view on the game. He has a coach's or an analytical view on the game, which is actually good to have.
Yeah, you need people like that. You need
people like that around him, and I think that would make a very good team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Jack, I think, great choice from TSM, Bjergsen. Hopefully that's announced, by the way. Jack being a part of TSM. He already was, right? He already was part of TSM.
I don't know. I think it's fine. We'll chuck it out there anyway.
Screw Jack.
We haven't signed any contracts yet, but you just lose Jack's trust. That's it.
Everyone knows he's with TSM anyway, so it's not a big deal. But anyway,
so
looking forward to seeing
how Travis Gafford reported on some rumors as well. Right. Not officially reported, but Broken Blade gone, Biofrost gone.
Dude, Biofrost needs to get the fuck out, man. He just... I know that type of player. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say 100% I know, but like my hunch, I mean, I'm so certain on this just personally, is that he's just the biggest just bitch. Like he is...
In terms of actual gameplay or
he's just
leadership?
He's not a natural competitor.
He's not a natural competitor.
When I see that guy, he's the definition of, yes, he can be a great SoloQ player, but when it comes to crunch time, he can't execute. He crumbles. He can't perform. He's just got the worst, I could tell. He's got like no self-confidence, that guy. And he's so in his head. And every single time it comes to crunch time, he just misexecutes, dude. He misses opportunity. He doesn't have that dominating mindset where like he's looking for every single opportunity and I'm just going to take risks and just step up and execute. Like he doesn't have that.
Yeah, we talked about Cupcake,
he's the opposite of Cupcake, right?
In the last episode we talked about
and I hate those sorts of players because they're capped. In my opinion, especially as a support, you got to have that dog mentality. You got to be on the ball. You got to be searching, scouring for opportunities, and he just doesn't have that, man. He's proven again and again he can't execute. Again, same as Path. Like, get rid of them, dude. Shift it. Like, they're not good enough. I mean, Broken Blade. I don't really know enough about him as a player to comment. And then what was the other rumors? There was just
that's it.
Just those two.
Blade, yeah.
And so what?
I think Spica has potential.
And double lift.
And double lift
or something, right?
No, I don't think nothing's been talked about.
They're going to keep him?
I believe so.
I'm so excited for all the rosters.
Apparently, I mean, Jacob Wolf has been talking about he thought last year's one was big. This year's is even bigger.
It's going to be big, man. Who's going to get TSM? Who's going to be TSM's mid laner? Some big shoes to fill there, man.
Someone was talking about Cut Evolved.
I don't think that guy's ready, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at him, and yes, Cat Evolved is like a decent SoloQ player. The thing what I don't like about Cat Evolved, he's a Katarina player, but I was watching his stream, and he still plays a lot of Katarina. Just give up the Katarina, dude.
Yeah. If you're going to be a competitive player,
you want to be pro. Why are you fucking playing Katarina every game?
Yeah.
Stop playing Katarina. Yes, you can climb with it and get super high LP, but yes, Katarina may be viable some games, but stop it. Just play another champion. If I was in his shoes, I would never play that champ. I wouldn't play that champ for months. I would just literally delete it for like at least for a few months and then expand my pool completely away from it. I found that really weird to me. I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if they look at more veteran mid laners. I hate Power of Evil. I think Power of Evil's outdated. He's an outdated mid laner. That guy. Yeah. He is literally like the old school mid laner approach. It doesn't work.
What's that? What's the old school mid laner approach?
He doesn't have he can't play like assassins.
Got it.
He can play like LeBlanc, but nowadays, in order to be a mid laner in season 10, season 11, you have to be able to play, Echo and Aurelia just as good as you can play Orianna and Azir. In my opinion, to be a world-class mid laner. Showmaker can play assassins just as great as he can play control mages in a patient style. Same as Chovy. The best mid laner is Rookie. They all can do it. Now, Power of Evil, he's the one defaulting to Victor and Orianna. Yes, he might be very good at Victor and Orianna, and he can even play Azir and things like that. But you got to be able to switch styles. I don't think a mid laner nowadays can afford to be one-dimensional in their approach towards the game, and I believe that's outdated. The best players are going to be like 610, right? The guy I'm coaching, an EU challenger, 16-year-old challenger player. Echo One Trick, gone now, expanding to Orianna, Zoe, Syndra, like all these other champions with the fundamentals from an assassin style base. You need to be able to play these different styles because it makes you better at those majors as well. And now that like this meta, for example, the meta shifted near Worlds, Lucian became meta. Okay, you got to be able to play Lucian. You got to be able to play Lucian. If you're a defensive Victor Orianna player and you don't feel comfortable playing Lucian, then you're just washed up. You can't do it. Not good enough. So I don't think Power of Evil should be picked up. I think Niski is quite good. He's someone that I think TSM should look at. I mean, outside of that, you'd probably have to look international.
Jensen.
I don't know enough. I don't want to comment. I don't know enough. I need to do my research.
Remember, the thing about this is that Bjergsen was an NA resident, man. You know, like, you still got to work with your 3 NA player rule. It's tough.
Okay, well, just going on from this, one of the notes I had here was I saw a tweet. I've seen a few of these tweets actually on Twitter about coachable players.
Okay,
and I saw a tier list, and it was like this coach said, these are the most coachable players to a pro level, and he put like in top lane it was like Camille and Fiora players.
Yeah, in
jungle I think it was like Kindred and Nidalee players, and in mid lane I think it was can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like Yasuo and Zoe play, whatever it was. It was like players who one trick or played these sorts of champions, these specific champions, and it got me thinking. I think there's a grain of truth here. I think there are some obvious benefits to looking at certain type of players, but I think there's two main problems with this. There's two main problems that I want to kind of riff off here.
So when you say coachable players, you're talking about like I would love to work with I can help a Camille Fiora player become a tank player.
No, they literally said these are like the players that
you can only coach these type of players. Pro. So if you're a tank top laner, or like
you can't be coached.
You can't be coached.
Apparently,
so no one should just touch you
to a pro level. Apparently,
okay.
So I think that there's an element of truth here and a grain of truth, but I think this is just a much bigger problem. There's two problems here I want to touch on.
Okay.
The first one is the mindset behind, making things into a neat, simplified tier list. And it's what I call the tier list culture. And I have a problem with this.
It's black or white.
Yeah, it's black and white. It's like, I can only coach a Camille and a Fiora and a whatever it is top laner. And I can only coach a Kindred or Nidalee jungler. These are the only players that can be coached. Or, a tier list here where this is the S tier mid laners, A tier mid laners, B tier. Like, yes, this can be good as a general overarching approach to get the conversation started. But especially League of Legends at the pro level, and as something that is that complex. But even as simple as SoloQ tier list, it's never that simple. And I think there's this culture that it's so ingrained now. And to be honest, I've kind of bought into it a little bit. I do my tier list, but the way I view my tier list, even with SoloQ champions, I don't view it as this is definitively the tier list, and this is, the strength from S to D tier or whatever it is. No, this is a rough overarching take, plus minus a division in terms of what I view as most effective in these ELO brackets. And it's up for everyone's interpretation.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a conversation
at the end of the day, the B or the A tier, they could become S tier in a certain game.
In a certain game, yes. They can easily... And the game is way too... Like you said, way too many dynamics, too many variables at play here.
It's like Cassiopeia, best example. We played Cassiopeia in Clash the other day.
Yeah.
It was just a good Cassiopeia game because we're going to change that.
Doesn't mean it's...
it was literally S tier in that game. But
in S tier in that game, yeah.
But it might be... What would you put Cassio right now?
I think it's like maybe an A pretty strong, but it's not S tier every single game. It's not A tier every single game either. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I think that right now, whether it's a societal thing or just a league specific thing, is we try to make things so simple, clear cut, black, white, OP or weak, terrible or bad, whatever, terrible or amazing. There's no gray areas. And same with this coaching thing. It's like coachable players. It's just hogwash. It's bullshit. There's
no even point having the conversation.
I mean, tier list is not the way you should frame the conversation with coachable players. I think it should be, okay, guys, I think that there are a lot of benefits to coaching a player that mains Fiora and Camille because they have the aggressive tendency there. And then kind of start the conversation there.
Versus, here it is, bam, 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 bam. Okay, if they don't check this, done. See you later.
Yeah, it's just so clear cut. This is one element of the gameplay I look for, which I would agree with you. I would say that having an aggressive, like the people that push their limits and play these aggressive assassins or aggressive split pushers or whatever, they generally are a little bit more coachable because it's easier to help someone
who's limit testing all the time.
Yeah, well, it's easier. The way I framed it was, it's hard to teach someone to play more aggressive, but it's easier to actually
pull back a
little bit. Yeah,
on aggressive players.
Exactly. Because their limit is much higher. So, but there's so many other elements. There's the outside of game elements. There's their understanding of the game. There's their mentality. There's
experience.
Their experience. There's their mental strength. There's so many other elements of what makes an amazing pro player. Take Doinby. Doinby is not an amazing laner. He has a very average champion pool as well, but he has a lot of other redeeming factors that make him an amazing player. It just shows that it's so complex.
And he's a world champion.
Yeah, and he's a world champion, and MVP like multiple seasons. So, what's your take on this tier league culture? Have you seen it?
I mean, I just think, again, it's that idea of people wanting to just put out a nice little simplified sentence to help them understand it and help other people understand it. But I think it just comes from an egotistical viewpoint. It's like, this is it. This is how it's going to be. I don't even want a conversation.
I hate Twitter, dude.
Twitter's just
shit.
It's just shit.
This actually reminds me of just how bad Twitter is. It's just not a platform for great discussion.
Yeah, you literally can't.
You can't have a good quality discussion.
Open discussion. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not even an egotistical tweet. It's just like that's all the characters he could put in the tweet.
Maybe I just need to spend less time on Twitter. Honestly, it just really
I don't
hurts.
use Twitter anymore.
But that's the point of Twitter, right? It's like, this is my opinion.
That's right.
Take it or leave it.
That's right.
It's not like, I just don't like it.
People just spew out bullshit.
Yeah, it's just ego versus ego. My opinion versus your opinion, rather than this is my rough take on it. What are your thoughts?
What about?
It's very rare that you have that.
It's like Donald Trump's tweets.
I actually haven't seen his tweets in a very long time.
Yeah, but the way he tweets, right?
Yeah, pretty ridiculous statements.
Always.
It's just trying to get a reaction, right? It's just trying to get a reaction.
I don't know, Curtis. I don't know the psychology of Donald Trump.
Anyway, we got to give another question to the community.
Okay, so
last episode we asked, what was your biggest regret of season 10?
I don't have a question right now, but let's just touch on that. So some of the comments was actually surprisingly, a lot of people said like, they feel like they should have played more games.
Yeah, I had that. I saw that as well. A lot of people said they played a lot of flex or a lot of normals and they didn't play enough ranked.
Yeah. Ranked anxiety is the word that gets brought
ranked
up.
Anxiety, yeah. Some of them, I think I saw like 2 or 3 that said, that was a noise.
That's the wind. Terrifying. It's very windy up here.
Another one was, I regret being so scared. Just feeling like feeling so scared to just play and improve. And it was actually 2 or 3 on champion pools. I think there was 2 on.
They regretted their champion pool.
No, they regretted shifting their champion pools or overcomplicating their champion pools, that sort of thing. Yeah. Which you see that quite often. I would say another question I pose. And this is something I actually have been actively interested in from trying to understand our audience more. How many of you actually care about esports?
Yes.
The competitive element of the game.
Yeah.
So out of our viewers, do you guys genuinely either just watch competitive games? Do you follow the competitive splits? If you do, what regions do you follow? Or do you just play SoloQ and play for fun, play with friends? You just want to improve for yourself. How important is the competitive element of the game for you? And, do you even watch it, follow it? That's always something that interests me because my hunch is that we assume that everyone just watches NALCS or LEC.
Well, because it's such a big part of our lives, right? So it's like, well, if you got to play League, you got to do this.
Yeah, and I wanted to just know how important, because there may be a massive portion of our audience that doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And they only care about SoloQ, which is completely understandable. So, let us know in the comments how important.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to know.
Very interesting to know. Now, before I'll let you touch on your one, there's one really interesting DM I got. This was actually wanted to touch on this last week, but we didn't have enough time. And this was from, he's got a weird name. His name's Replacement Level. And this was the same guy that DM'd us talking about the... he asked another good quality question. I can't remember what it was.
Wait, did he email in a question? Or?
No, he just DM'd me.
Okay.
Anyway, so he said he would love to hear our thoughts on this. Now, it reads like this. He says, there was an investing article from a long time ago that talks about identifying whether what you're doing is a winner's game or a loser's game. The example goes that amateur tennis, where players are bad, is a loser's game. Because in amateur tennis, the player that attempts a difficult shot, they're more likely going to miss the shot because they're not good enough to land those shots. And so when they miss, it's either going to go into the net or it's straight up just going to go out. So the winning strategy within amateur tennis is just to take a lot of safe shots and allow the other player to just beat themselves.
So that's when you were playing versus other bad players.
In amateur. It's not professionals.
Amateur, yeah.
Whereas, because, if you just attempt these difficult shots, you're just going to miss them. You're going to lose points. You're just going to, literally, it's like self-sabotage in a way. In contrast, professional tennis is a winner's game where mistakes are unlikely to be made. So if you want to win, you have to hit winners. You have to hit those very difficult shots. Otherwise, your opponent is going to do the same thing to you. And his question was, is League a winner's game or a loser's game? Or is it defined by ELO, that sort of thing? Now, it got me thinking...
Well, my initial response is, again, it would just be defined by ELO. Because, this is the difference in the way...
Well, this is a very clear way of articulating my intention of why I tell people to play simple champs
in lower ELO.
In lower ELO.
Yeah.
And scaling, in a way. Think about it like this. I see so many accounts where they main Syndra and Zoe and, Yone and Akali and, all these Yasuo, very mechanically intensive champions. They're literally doing this. They are trying to play a winner's game
in a loser's
game.
Yeah.
They are trying to hit game-winning shots, and they're literally self-sabotaging. You're making the game, you're literally losing to yourself. And the way you got to view it is, no, okay, I just need to hit safe shots. I'm playing in an amateur game. I'm playing a loser's game where I just have to play the easiest champions, learn more about the game until I get more comfortable. And then once I get to a decent level about the game and get to a decent level, then I can actually start to play more intense champions, more micro-intensive champions. And I've found this a really great way explaining that concept.
Yeah, I think that I like that a lot. Again, all you need to do, this is from a jungle perspective. Make sure you're just strong. Make sure you have efficient pathing around your camps. You don't really need to ditch efficiency at all.
And this is why Warwick is so good in Luila, right?
No, Warwick's an interesting case because no one's efficient with Warwick. You just fight all the time.
Right.
He's actually not good in
So what's actually a good low elo jungler then?
All right, good low elo junglers would be stuff like
See a lot of Shyvana,
Kha'Zix, Shyvana, Karthus. In a way, Karthus is a bit hard. You need to be
micro intensive,
right? Hecarim. Champs that can just 1v9.
So champs that can just
1v9
clear very well and just
Eve,
scale up.
I think Eve is the best. I think Eve is the best low elo carry champion in the entire League of Legends in general.
I never would have thought that. I thought she was hard.
Hard to play?
Yeah, I thought she was hard to play.
Oh, I'd say she's hard to pick up. Sort of. Not really. But she's not, because you can just take... Again, you're playing... You thrive in losers' games as Eve. Because no one's punishing you in low elo.
Yeah, no one punishes you.
Yeah. This, you have to punish Eve.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you lose the game, literally. Yeah. Because it's she gets level 6, she gets a kill, she gets some Dark Seal stacks, she resets, she buys Magi's, you come back, you get a couple more kills, 15 stacks of Magi's, 25 stacks.
And everyone's out of position.
No one's respecting you. It's just kills after kills after kills.
You know what I always laugh at? When I see a silver or a gold for gold 3, gold 2 Zoe player, I'm this is what I envision. I envision, 18 minutes in the game, even if the Zoe for some reason is 3-0, this is when, the game will start to...
People group in team
Yeah, a lot of
fights.
people grouping and things like that.
Yeah.
Let's just say that Annie is 1 and 2. Say you're versing an Annie and you're playing Zoe. You get to, around a dragon, around that dot bush area in the river, and then Annie just flash ults and lands a 2-3 ult, 3-man ult, and then the team just follows up and they get a double kill. And you're standing there as Zoe saying, "Oh, you got to wait for me to get my poke off." Yeah. Oh, I missed my E. I missed my bubble. Sorry, guys, I missed my bubble.
You know what? That's something I initially, when Zoe came out, I was like, this is the shittest champion league because unless people understand, it's like, okay, you got to wait for a Qs and E's.
Well, it's either one or the other. You are setting the pace of the game and you're already
chunking people.
You're already chunking people before they even get to that area.
Yeah.
Right? And which is a man advantage, or you've got significant resource advantage, or it's straight up a 4v5. And you're preventing it from getting to team fights, which they're never going to contest in the first place. That's why I say pushing the pace of the game, diving sides, getting your side lanes ahead, invading the enemy jungle, get your jungle very far ahead, whatever it is. Or, again, they know how to play around a Zoe. They disengage, wait for you to land poke, play around those choke points. You land an E, get a chunk off, and then again, you can kind of play that fight that way. But if neither happen, you're just the
shittest champion.
You're literally the shittest champ.
Yeah.
It's an incredible
and it's so hard to play because you have no one's cared. No one cares. You're engaged, dude. You're better follow up. It's like, dude, I don't have any cooldowns.
And it's your 2 main damage abilities are pure skill shots.
That's right.
So if you miss that skill shot, you're a bot.
Dude, come on. It's always auto attacks, man.
Yeah, with W. If you get a actual spell on an ignite or whatever. But yeah. That's why I view it. This is why as well. Just simple, easy to execute. Victor, Annie, Orianna. They just dominate. Absolutely dominate.
Just relax. Play these champions in the loser's game. Wait for people to make mistakes. Capitalize on them. And then because the thing about that is you get high elo, which makes you play against better players that start pushing you a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like giving you a position to start playing. Because if you sit there playing Zoe and stuff, playing against silvers and golds your whole time, you're not going to really improve. But if you just play those victors and stuff,
you get better at the game.
Yeah, you get better at the game through
learning, getting higher elo. You actually get better because you verse better quality
players.
Opponents.
It's like, oh, this person does this through usually.
And it buys time while you actually learn the game through these champions. Then you can slowly refine these concepts. Then again, you're going to get so good at, you'll understand basic jungle tracking and basic warding, basic leaning, basic team fighting, champ identity, that sort of thing. So by the time you get to Platinum 4, then you can actually start to pick up a champ because you know what works and what doesn't work. And then you have those fundamentals down pat. But I just found that a really, really nice, clean analogy. Anyway, so winners game and losers game, amateur tennis. And
so when does the winners game kick in? Let's get specific here. Diamond 4?
I would say mid to high plat. I'd say high plat.
High plat, okay.
Around plat 2.
Yep, I would agree.
Around that. Then you can really start to play a winners game.
I'd say plat 1 for me. I think plat 1 is literally it.
Okay. Yeah, I could agree with that. So I've got a few things, but I'll let you. I don't want to steal the show here from you.
ARAMS.
Okay. ARAMS is in actual ARAMS? Or ARAMS is in just
Oh yeah, actual ARAMS, like queue up an ARAM, play an ARAM game. All right. Are they a very quick way and a good way to learn the game quickly and improve your mechanics?
I've actually thought about this. I've actually thought about using ARAMs to learn what champions do. If you're a beginner player, just seeing all the champions.
And playing, because it's random, right?
And playing them. Okay. Yes
or
and
is it
no.
so far away from Summoner's Rift that you're not really playing League of Legends?
I think yes and no. Okay. I think for me, it's not that the game is unrealistic. It's more that the mindset you're in
when you're playing ARAMs. What's the mindset? You just relax and just throwing your skill shots.
Yeah, you're just mindlessly
because
playing.
You don't need to worry about your skill shots because everyone's just throwing shit.
Yeah, it's more the mindset because I think that there is a certain level of brain engagement that needs to happen in order to process what you're doing. And I think if you can try hard,
try hard in ARAMs.
If you try hard in ARAMs, I think
it could actually be beneficial.
Yeah, it could. I could see value in it. I think what's better is Earth.
No, I think Earth's the worst.
Really?
Yeah, I think it makes you worse player.
Okay, I think micro-wise, Earth's good though. Because that 16 guy has actually been using Earth to improve micro.
Yeah.
And I've heard in the past, I've actually heard this, I can't remember where I heard it, but high elo challenger and Korean players were using Earth to refine micro.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I actually have seen on a lot of the profiles there was Earth games on a lot of the high elo players.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they're just doing that for fun or they're doing that to actually actively like refine their micro. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I have heard that somewhere where players were using Earth to improve micro.
Yeah,
because it's so incredibly micro intensive.
It is. You are right. Okay, maybe it's so. I mean, so my opinion on the ARAMS is actually literally a complete waste of time.
You think it's a complete waste of time
because it's so unrealistic.
Okay.
I mean, again, I'm thinking it from a jungle perspective, but I'm even trying to think of a laner as well. It's like you don't need to worry about tethering at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you do maybe to an aspect. You're not playing like it's just a different game. It's like I'm playing checkers versus chess or something like that.
Right.
You know, it's like
Okay.
I feel like there's literally zero benefit because you're not playing the champion even properly in the first place to learn it.
Okay.
I can see an argument maybe for
Why not just practice tool? Like, why don't, if someone wants to actually learn a champion, why don't you just go into practice tool? Like, I actually feel you get a lot of value from practice tool.
Okay, well, I mean, depend. Define learn a champion. Which stage? Like, literally first time ever playing it, or like 20 games in?
Sometimes when a new champion comes out, for example, right? And so say I
Yeah,
want to know
think
what
that's
like
helpful.
Yone does.
Yeah.
Or like a new champ.
Yeah.
Literally go into practice tool and just play around with the abilities. Like, you can actually get a very good idea of what they feel like and what they do and what you think their strengths and weaknesses may be if you actively like try and read the abilities, play around with them, that sort of thing. I actually think practice tool is very useful.
Okay.
In that sense.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess
you probably get more value from doing practice tool than ARAM.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd definitely say so. Yeah, I mean, you can practice like leasing combos and stuff like that in there. Like, the practice tool I definitely can see being helpful, even like jungle clears and stuff like that. But maybe, I mean, I think maybe Earth only good for maybe professional players. Micro, like.
And again, I think there has to be that element of intensity. I still think that you can't
intensity.
autopilot. Like, I can't sit in a Nerf game with a beer, you know, and just chill
trying
with
to-
my
and
feet back and listening to
improving.
listen to like dubstep or whatever with my whatever I'm doing, and then just like autopiloting. Like, I still think there needs to be an element. Like, I still need to focus on my clicking and dodging skill shots. Otherwise, there's no point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really want to get into this topic, Nathan. It's
All right.
exciting me.
Let's dive into it.
This is I think what I was most excited to talk about in this specific podcast. And this was, we actually touched on this briefly on one of our other episodes, which was, I can't remember what we're talking about, but this is mainly just fixing NA SoloQ.
Okay.
Now, after that podcast we did, we actually spoke about briefly a few solutions.
Some solutions to NA culture, NA SoloQ.
Well, no, it's not even just culture. Just try to literally level of play.
Yeah.
Be more specific. Literally just improving the level of play in NA.
Just so they can be globally competitive. Just be good.
And because we said how important SoloQ was, right?
Yep. We
Now,
believe in SoloQ.
There's I would say two main things that can be done. It was your one and my one, what I brought up and one you brought up. I'll just kick it off by saying what my initial thoughts were. So we both agree that SoloQ is, I mean, given, you know, looking at China, looking at Korea, SoloQ, and even EUS, quality of SoloQ is incredibly important at the highest level. Now, we saw all over Twitter and interviews NA pros complaining, NA SoloQ is just trash. Like, I have no incentive to play it. It's just trash. Like, there's one tricks, there's, you know, streamers, whatever it is. Now, a very simple way to improve the level of play in SoloQ is to literally get all of the academy and all of the pro players queuing up for SoloQ at the same time. Now, if you had put out an announcement, or if you put out a post saying every night, because scrims across the board in NA will end at the same time, because they're all in the same schedule. And I'm assuming academy is very, very similar as well. They scrim at similar times. Now, what you do is say, okay, we all have dinner at roughly this time. Okay? Make a concerted effort to queue up for SoloQ between 9 and 10 p.m. or 8 and 10 p.m. or 9 and 11 p.m. 2 hours a night of SoloQ, which they're all probably playing SoloQ anyway at some point in time at night. It's not like they're going to be talking to their girlfriend for 6 hours straight after scrims. Scrims finish at 7-ish. You have dinner at 8. You're not going to be, you know, talking to your girlfriend from like 8 to 12, from what I've heard. You know, maybe some players do that, but let's, you know, if we want to actively improve NA SoloQ, if all of the pro players and all of the academy players queue up at the exact same time, you will get good quality games eventually. Because what will happen is because these are all decent SoloQ players, they should, in theory, rise to the top 200. Or
they're professional players. They're theoretically the best players on the server.
Right. So the streamers that are casual will get weeded out. The one tricks who you deem aren't that good at the game, or maybe they're good on their one champion, they're fine. One tricks don't ban the one tricks. Literally leave the one tricks play the game because you learn from them anyway. Right. So don't ban the one tricks. Let them play their game. You just get better at beating them. Let all the one tricks in, and then you just play. Then all the SoloQ players, you're versing pro players nearly every single game, or at least academy players who are really try-harding as well. And a lot of the academy players are high-level SoloQ players as well.
Yeah, and they're hungry, man.
They're hungry.
They want to LCS.
And then that's fine. Then you get 2 or 3 hours of high-quality SoloQ every night. I mean, I think that we actually tried to do this within Oceania in 2017, I believe. And I think the only reason it didn't work, I mean, it did work a little bit, but I think one reason it didn't work is because some teams were just lazy. We didn't have enough people that were really dedicated to improvement. I think we had like 2 or 3 teams that did it. So we had like 20 players at the same time. And it was okay at the highest level, but then we just didn't have enough pro players. But NA and between the academy and the pro team, they do. So I think this is one very actionable, simple, easy to execute thing they can do during the split to increase the SoloQ, the level of play.
So obviously, there's always been the solution of in-houses, right?
Okay.
And the in-houses are basically it's like a custom game that people like organize and stuff.
It's kind of like in other games they call them like pugs.
Pugs, yeah. The problem with that, I mean, someone needs to organize it, right? You gotta like draft teams and stuff like that. Like the system's there. The system's there ready for you to be used.
The in-houses don't make sense. The only reason in-houses are a thing is like because there's no one tricks. But I still see value in versing one tricks.
One tricks, yeah.
Even in Korea, you learn from one tricks. The Z99, Z1 trick. You get like the Galio one trick. He innovated the way to play Galio in Korea. Like there's one tricks of nearly every single champion. And if you think the champion's bad, then you should be able to beat it, right? Yes, there could be a Pyke mid one trick. Learn to beat it. Everyone should just learn to beat it. They don't have no counterplay. Just because it's like annoying to verse, just deal with it. And the other thing, by the way, the reason there was a clip from Doublelift's stream someone sent me talking about why he didn't like in-houses.
Yeah.
He says there's something to the authenticity or like the feeling of just grinding and like in SoloQ and getting the ranks.
Yeah, that's right. That's
the ranks.
The ranks as well. It's like, it's like
it's like the rank system.
You've got to have an elo system. Rank system. That's why League's competitive, because the ranking system.
It's cool. It's like a dog-eat-dog world. Yeah. I love that. That's what people love SoloQ for.
It's like, I'm better than this player,
Like, yes, you could have, in theory, like an MMR or like an elo system within the in-houses and someone tracks the whole thing. But it's just like, it's just not the same. It's just really not the same. Well, it's being like rank 1 and the SoloQ ladder.
The thing as well is in-houses completely damage the SoloQ.
Yeah,
because SoloQ, then all the amateur players have no one to play against. They're only playing against streamers and one tricks.
Yeah, sure.
And the queue times are too long.
It actually does damage in the long term for the scene.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally hurting the scene by doing in-houses.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be making yourselves a little bit better. But even then, I disagree with, because again, the competitive there's not. You know how Doublelift said that is just something. The feeling's not
the
there.
Intensity as well.
The intensity. So, I mean, this is. I just believe that until the SoloQ standard is raised in NA, they will never win worlds.
It will never. Yeah. Okay. Yes, they could find some innovative coaching practices. They could also import a bunch of good players. They can, create the best schedule, whatever. Like, I totally agree with you. Until the quality of the SoloQ changes, nothing else will matter.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it just doesn't matter. And the fact that people just complain about SoloQ, like, you got to find solutions, and this is our solution. This is the solution.
Okay, talk about your solution. I like your solution even better.
My solution is your solution.
No, your solution is a step above that. Is literally.
Oh yeah, I mean
get rid of scrims, right?
Well.
Or structure
significantly reduce the amount of scrims that you play, and
this is so big.
And you know what? This is gonna maybe hurt the team aspect. I mean, I even say it's not, because teams just get worse the more they scrim with each other. That's my opinion.
Okay, let's. There's a few points to riff off here. Let's clarify this. So your point is, we should do less scrims and more SoloQ. So literally, instead of the time spent scrimming, you literally SoloQ.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying every single day. We're not saying every day, right? We're saying there needs to be days to refine your strategy for the week. You need to have, maybe 3 days of scrims, whatever it is. Or even maybe a block a day. But I mean, a lot of actual like coaches now, they don't see it. They don't understand it. But
no, I mean that like coaches and pro players hearing that statement right there, they literally think we're out of our minds, dude. You know, but guess what? Because you know what they're all doing? They're trying to beat each other in NLCS. Because you know what? Then they're like, oh, but Nathan Curtis, like, if they can see I play SoloQ all the time, it's all my practice. They can just see what champions I'm playing all the time, and then they know what to ban out and stuff like that. It's like, okay, but you're gonna do the same thing you've been doing for years, and you're gonna go back to Worlds and not make it out of groups again.
Dude, but the biggest thing the reason this is so big, and people don't understand this watching this and listening to this, is that scrims, I would say 85% of the time, are a fucking waste of time.
Huge waste of time.
Because it's like people, like you said, it's about winning the scrim rather than actively improving.
Yep.
They don't even play the same in scrims as they do on stage anyway.
Yeah. There's not the same level of intensity.
And there's only so much you can learn with macro. At the end of the day, I always try to tie back things to like champion identity and how to win a game of League of Legends. You can get incredibly good at that in SoloQ. And think about all the best competitive players, all were the best SoloQ players.
Yeah. Faker, rank 1s on the server, best player in the world. And like literally zero competitive experience, joins SKT, one of the best players in the world. Like, that season wins Worlds.
Again and again and again. So like the thing is, and people say, George, just because the people who say, just because this guy's a good SoloQ player doesn't mean he won't be good at competitive. That's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Every good SoloQ player...
Maybe in NA because no one takes it seriously.
Every good... Okay, let's just say...
In Korea,
China, and even EU.
Yeah.
Every good SoloQ player there will be great in competitive.
Yeah.
Maybe minus the one tricks.
Yeah.
Because, again, they know how to win games. They have the intensity. They have the focus. They've proven that they can overcome adversity, know how to win games, be mechanically consistent. It tests so many things. And you know what? You wouldn't have to do this for long, honestly. Maybe you did this for the first like 5 weeks of the split and then you went all back to scrims or something like that. I just think that there needs to be a hardcore focus on the quality of the SoloQ and NA.
I think you need at least the whole year. Do you know why? Because you need to let the up and coming players have a chance to challenge the pro players in SoloQ. Because you need to help them get it. Like 5 weeks isn't enough. Again, I'm not thinking too much about the pro player. The pro players are an aspect, but it's like that next up and coming. Like imagine if you're an up and coming player, right? You're sitting on like Grandmaster or Master in NA. And to get to that upper echelon, you need to be better than full-time professional players. And if you were able to do that, like holy shit, this guy's good, man. You can instantly tell this guy's good. That helps teams. That helps scouting.
No, but the only problem is, Nathan, there is a lot to the game in terms of strategy that you're missing out on without scrims. Like if you look at like, you know, you miss a lot of time in creating your team identity.
You're gonna again, you guys are gonna be so shit at MSI and Worlds, but it's a long-term investment.
It's a long-term investment.
Again,
that the whole region would have to agree to.
Yeah, the whole region would have to agree to. Again,
that's just never gonna happen. No.
Maybe not, but I'm just saying. I'm just gonna put it out there again.
Yeah,
NA will never win Worlds, even come close to winning Worlds until. Or even be considered as a very good region until the standard of SoloQ increases.
And you think that's the best way to do it? I still think my way as well, or out the other one I suggested, will still improve the quality, but just not as fast, obviously. You don't get all the pro players to play at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on the all in or nothing type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know
what's interesting as well? This kind of ties in onto this. Is I watched that Huan Feng documentary. It was on Reddit. And I watched it yesterday. And it made me realize why China is just... It's just a different ballgame. We actually can't understand how hard it would be to become a pro player in China. We literally don't have... Like, we really don't have that level of poverty as well in Australia to understand how desperate one could get and how much they want it and how big their population is and how many great players there are. In order to differentiate yourself, you just have to go to such an extreme extent, which is just not comparable to NA as well and like these other regions. And I watched the documentary. For those of you who haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. If you type in Huan Feng documentary on YouTube, you'll find it. And what I love about it is like this guy was like dirt poor. Like dirt poor. Parents abandoned him. Like he traveled to the other side of China to get paid like $450 a month just to get the opportunity to play competitive in like a semi-pro league. and was in like, you know, just grinded for years, given like literally like eating shit and being at the bottom of the barrel just to get like one opportunity. And like, it's just, you can't even believe the story.
It's very hard to compete with someone like that.
How do you compete?
Yeah.
Like this guy, what he's gone through and how much he's given up, and like the desperation involved to get to that point is just like unheard of. I mean, what I'm trying to get at here is that, like, again, China, America has to level up their game. NA has to level up their game if they're going to compete. You're not going to get that sort of quality of player that way in NA.
No, not in the current environment.
You have to do it a different way. You have to artificially improve the SoloQ. You have to do whatever it takes to artificially improve the SoloQ, because they have the numbers. They have that desperation that NA doesn't have. End of story. And anyways, it's hard for me to articulate how powerful that story is. I highly recommend watching the documentary on One Thing.
You'll link it in the YouTube, or was you talking on the YouTube?
If I remember.
All right, I'll remind you.
Okay.
I'll write it down in my notebook.
All right. Now, well, I have one last thing I did want to cover here. I did want to talk about Fudge joining C9.
Okay.
Rough, very quickly. I mean, people like started hating on him, you know, saying how... OS import XD.
Well, people are upset. I mean, Licorice has been a face of C9. You know, he's like the longest standing member of C9 now. And people are like, well, what's going on?
Well, quote me on this, all right? I want the people, the podcast, to quote me on this. I think Fudge is the smartest investment that C9
I think that was a genius move.
ever make.
Yeah.
I reckon, like, I would say 2 or 3 years from now, Fudge will be like incredibly dominant in the NLCS.
Yep.
And this would be the most wise investment C9 have ever made.
It's a smart move. Yeah.
Fudge, for those of you who don't know,
So
this guy is
he's
probably
18 or 19. He was 17 when he started playing, I think. So I think
might
he's
be
18.
18, 19.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this guy, I don't think you could actually get a more refined micro talent than this guy at his age. So this guy was personally coached by one of the smartest players in our region. Well, probably one of the smartest players. Yeah, incredibly smart player. So we had a guy, we've probably mentioned him on the podcast before, Fantix. And Fantix, he'd been playing the game since Season 1, and he was incredibly good on NA, even in Season 1, Season 2.
With like 150 ping, whatever it was.
So he used to play at the highest level in NA in Season 1, Season 2 from OS. He's played with Dyrus and things like that. He was a high-ranked player back then, and people knew of him. Now, he went on to, like, you know, he kind of played with us. He played for Direwolves as a top laner, then a mid laner. Anyway, he has a brilliant mind for the game. Now he worked as like a talent scout and like an assistant coach of like, you know, 100 Thieves, that sort of thing, a secondary coach, and then he went back to OS. Whatever he's doing now, it doesn't matter. But this guy is a very good solo queue player, Fantix. He got to like Challenger in Korea, Challenger in EU, just an amazing solo queue player. And he was I've never seen a player like this that was able to get Challenger in multiple roles. He got Challenger play. He could play 80 carry to a Challenger role level, mid lane, top lane, jungle, literally Challenger like 4 roles. This guy is just an absolute machine. Now, he personally picked out Fudge and coached him micro-wise for like an entire year. And Fudge now, in turn, has some of the most refined laning and the refined understanding, like incredibly deep understanding of the game that no other player at his level of play would have. You know, it's like, the comparison would be having someone, like having a mid lane coach like me for an entire year. Like, with my knowledge now. Imagine my knowledge now if I coached already a pretty good talent in solo queue for a year straight micro-wise. That guy, by the end of the year, is going to be a machine.
And he's got the bonus of the Worlds experience. He's had like this unique path as an OS player because he went to Worlds with Mammoth.
He had Worlds experience. He's had multiple boot camps experience. He had his micro-coaching individual experience. He's had amazing role models. He's already...
From like 17, 16.
And already a natural competitor and an obsessed over the game at a very young age.
Yeah.
And a carry-oriented player from that age. He's just like the perfect condition for like an exceptional player. Then he went over to NA, first time international, dominated Academy, and everyone said he was an amazing player. He basically dominated NA. And even like a lot of the top players said he's the person that like he should be in NA. LCS, sorry. I believe there was like I saw Tactical say he was like, Fudge was like one of the players who should be in LCS. Now, They moved him to the top now main roster at C9. He may be a little bit shaky at the start, but this guy is going to be a machine. This guy is the type of player that is going to be an absolute machine. So, I mean, if anyone doubts this guy, if you guys are a C9 fan or you've seen all the hate on him, just wait and see.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other player that I would say would be this confident. I'd be this confident in signing to an LCS team.
Yeah.
Like, I would say Roma was way too early for Hungry Thieves.
Yeah.
Like, I could just see that. But this guy is more than ready to play an LCS, and he will prove himself. I can nearly guarantee it. So, I'm
C9
super
have
excited.
always been very good with roster decisions.
Yeah, C9 talents, I mean, they're so good at scouting
They have
talent,
such a
man.
good track record, man.
They're amazing.
They're just like a factory machine of just like all their players spread across all the teams.
Yeah, and everyone just takes all the talent from C9.
C9 Academy and stuff.
So yeah, man, I'm super excited to see Fudge. Super excited. And people always say, OS import XD. Yes, I would say we don't have many, but there's freaks in every server.
Yeah, that's right. There's the outliers.
There's outliers in every server, and this guy is an outlier.
And well, he's not an import code. He's an NA resident.
And he's an NA resident. Yeah, but people say he's
changes.
from OS, so they mean him and shit. But
yeah.
I mean, they will see. Now, the last point I wanted to touch on here, I'm not sure if you had any more points.
No, we can do this in questions.
But then with questions. But this is funny. You've caught me on this a few times in our conversations at home. You obviously live together, and sometimes I come out really emotional after a SoloQ game or before I queue up for SoloQ. And
a little. That's an understatement.
And Nathan will call me out because I say these ridiculous statements. And this is funny because even I say these things. And sometimes I'll say to Nathan, I'm so sad. I'm sad now because I lost that SoloQ game. Or I'm so happy now because I won that SoloQ game. And he turned around to me one day and he said, Curtis, did you just hear what you said? Did you just realize what you just said?
Just compute it for a second.
Let's just compute just what you said to me. You said, I am now happy. I'm like, as a person, I'm happy because I won this game. Or I'm sad, literally sad, because I lost this game.
Yeah.
Just listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Now, what's wrong with this, Nathan?
But it's like you say it like so normally. It's like the way you come and say it. It's like Nathan, I can't do anything more for today because I'm just playing bad in SoloQ. Like my day's just over.
Like so what surprises you is how
how much how self-aware you are of it,
but not at the same time.
But like just refusing to just like move on.
It's like I've normalized that behavior in a way.
Right,
it's like that's the standard. That's just what happens.
That's right.
I care about SoloQ that
Lose
much.
SoloQ equals
the result.
sad.
I care about the result of SoloQ that much that it literally changes my mood completely. That's ridiculous. It's pathetic, honestly. And like it's not I didn't get any learning and I'm pissed off. It's that I lost. And okay, I'm gonna defend myself here though. It's the end of the season, dude. And Challenger,
of course, end of the season. So all right,
end of the season. It's an excuse.
It's like okay. I can understand. I'm never attached to a result. I'm only focused on the specifics, my details, my gameplay, my improvement. But I'll let that all slide because it's the end of the season. Like again, that statement is again ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, aren't you meant to have this all the time? If you want like end of the season, we talk about it in even the last podcast.
I'll be honest. I let it slip. I let it slip towards the end of the season because I was towards like the very end. Like this,
how did you get good in the first place?
There was not doing this, not this mindset.
Case closed.
I did not have this mindset when I was actually improving.
Case closed.
In order for me to actually improve, I put my ego aside. I said to myself, I wasn't that good, and I had to figure out a way in order to get good.
And guess what, Curtis?
I got back into the specifics, and then I got good.
You weren't coming out of my room saying your room. It's like, oh, okay, like I'm working on this. Oh, like Nathan, I'm actually feeling like I'm improving.
And I identified,
and then you improved, and then you're like, nah, pissed off.
But then once I started getting to like the high challenger, like 700 LP plus, I started saying things like, "Yeah, I'm sad now that I lost this game. Oh, I'm happy I won that game." And like to be honest, it's just because like it was actually it was actually really stressful to get challenger this year. I've heard that from a lot of people, even in other regions.
Everyone's trying to do the race.
Well, because in OS, right? In OS, it's only 50 slots.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, you can say, we don't have many good players and it's fine. I actually like that it's 50 slots, but it is, I wouldn't say it's super, super hard, but it's much harder than it was in previous seasons. And if you think about how many like pro players we had in OS, there's 8 teams, right? 50 5 in each.
It's 40 players.
It's already 40 players. And then you got like a few of the academy, and then you got some one tricks, and you maybe get some imports that come in and play. We have a lot of Chinese players and things like that play. So there's actually going to be a lot of people that miss out. And I would say that towards the end, it became focused on getting high challenger as just like a result rather than like the improvement. And it actually did hurt me. Recently, I haven't been playing as well as I was like the last 2 weeks. But now I'm just waiting. I'm like, I mean, we're like 16, 17 days out from the end of the season.
Yeah,
I'm just writing it out.
Yeah.
Until then, once the season's over, I can go back to just what I was at. But the mentality. But if I do keep this mentality after this season, Nathan, after the end of the season, then that's problematic, and I deserve to get roasted. But I don't see that happening. I think it's just a bit of a one-off. But do you hear this with your clients at all? Do you hear this in your Discord or from people?
What about people attach their emotional state?
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a standard.
It's incredibly difficult.
I think it's just the standard. And this is what we're trying to change, right?
Yeah.
And that's what pissed me off is like I am trying to change this, but then I fell back into it. That's how easy you fall it's so easy to fall back into that trap of just bringing it back to the LP or the rank.
Yeah.
So easy. And I think it's and that's why as well, by the way, you got to hold your friends accountable. That's what friends are for.
You can tell if someone's upset. You can just look at their match history, a bunch of defeats. They're getting they're talking less a little bit.
But like hold your friends accountable in the sense that if you hear them say that sort of thing, you should call them out.
Yeah.
Because they're probably not even aware of it. They're just so emotional at that point.
You go so far down.
Like you got to look out for them. So if you hear your friend saying, "Oh, I keep losing. I'm stuck. I'm hard stuck with D1. Or I'm so close to my promos," but like you got to bring that language away from the rank and bring it back to like, okay, and what are you improving on? What have you done well? What have you done poorly? What do you need to do in order to level up your game? You know, what's happening in these games specifically? Like get specific, improvement oriented. You got to bring it away from the LP, and it's very difficult to do that by yourself. That's where friends really come into play and people around you hold. And this is what I want to get across in the Discord. This is actually one of the big reasons I wanted to change my Discord is I wanted a community filled with people like this. We can hold ourselves accountable. Say, Curtis, no, why are you saying that? Didn't you say this? No, yeah, I want them to hold me accountable and I'm going to hold them accountable. And we have a much higher quality dialogue. That's what it takes. And so, I mean, it's one strategy that can help bring about that mentality. Anyway. I just found that pretty funny.
You found that funny? I mean, I'm every time you walk out of your room, Curtis, I'm like, oh, what's he going to say now? I wonder if it was a good day of SoloQ or a bad day of SoloQ.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into our good old BBC Broken by Concept Q&A time.
Dude, I swear we should, like, this is where we add, like, in a little sound. Another sound, Nathan, from we won't give it away where it's from, but...
Like our intro song?
Yeah, like something like that there. What do you reckon?
I don't know. It's too much editing for me, Curtis. Okay. Maybe in future episodes.
Fair enough.
All right. So I'm going to quickly change the battery as I usually do, and then we'll get straight into the Q&A.
Okay.
All right. So our first question here is from Nolan. I've just done this take like 3 times.
G'day, Nolan.
Because I mess up the...
Don't ask what happened.
The reading of this question.
You can't read.
So he's a low gold player who just plays for fun, but he loves our content. He says, watching our content has helped him get out of silver and helped him begin climbing in gold. Awesome to hear. He's made the mistake of switching roles after climbing, but his videos have helped him so much regardless. He had a quick question for us. He was wondering if he had any tips on the identity of ADC champions.
Okay.
In addition, if he had any tips for ways to impact the game early or if that is outside the identity of an ADC.
So you mean identity of AD carry as a role?
As a role.
As a role.
Yeah. He's talking about role, not champions, yeah. So he said that, he said here, I made the mistake of switching roles after climbing.
So I'm assuming he climbed as either a jungler or as a mid laner.
Yeah. But your videos have helped me so much regardless, yeah.
And then he moved to AD carry.
Okay.
Well, the way I personally view AD carry is that it's just a pure, like, it's just a damage and mechanics role. It's okay. I think the mentality that you got to have, I think there's 2 overarching themes to AD carries. You got to be incredibly obsessed about being as efficient as possible with waves.
You're a vacuum.
Yeah, you got to be a vacuum. Literally, it's a walking vacuum. You go around the map and suck up every single form of resource possible. And I think you know how I mentioned that quote, that baseball quote, where it's like, I wake up in the morning and all of my decisions, like everything I do is because I want to be a better baseball player. So I get up in the morning this time because it makes me a better baseball player. I want to do this because it makes me a better baseball player. The way I view AD carry is every decision or every action in the lane should be like, how's this going to help me get more resources? With the way wave management is, because if you view it, some AD carries literally cannot operate and they can't farm if they're the ones getting pushed in. So Ashe is the perfect champion. If Ashe is getting pushed in, you're like a piece of shit because your identity rolls around poke, and if you're getting pushed in,
you want to be under their tower contesting them.
Because it helps you farm better, get better resets, and do everything. So the way I view, like, I always bring it back to getting as many resources as possible, and then I would say the second element of it, in which you got to like really internalize, is maximizing damage. Just maximizing damage across the board because your champion a lot of the time isn't going to have a lot of burst. I would say your champion, like every single auto attack matters. You got to have attention to detail. Every single auto attack matters, whether it's weaving in an auto attack between getting a creep, whether it's timing, like spacing the enemy and getting an extra auto attack in, whether it's getting that minion advantage to get a separate auto attack in between, whatever it is, or in a team fight, positioning in a certain way to get extra auto attacks or extra damage off. You got to just be obsessed with both maximizing damage, minimizing deaths, and maximizing farm.
So he says here, if he had any tips on how to impact the game early, I would say that it's just not dying.
No, it's not dying, yeah. You know, both the two AD carries that I've coached in the past that have had insane, both of them, and King gets rank 1 whenever he wants in basically any server. Most he's played. He got like top 10, whatever, NNA, whatever it is. He gets like super good SoloQ player. Even Katsuri, he has like 3 accounts challenger. He consistently gets top 10, really good SoloQ player. Both of them have the exact same theory of SoloQ. When I've asked them, they said, you die as least as possible, like literally value your life as least possible. And the reason you value your life as much as possible is because that prevents you from farming. So
your vacuum gets switched off.
Your vacuum switched off, yeah. So least farm, you want to get the most farm with the least deaths and do the most damage in team fights. That's it. You can't really do much in the early game. The only way you can influence the early game is through wave manipulation.
Yeah, wave manipulation, yeah.
Wave manipulation is actually incredibly important. You've got to be obsessed about the details of AD carry.
And from a jungle standpoint, make this a habit to know where the enemy jungler has started. Because especially in gold, the jungler does the most obvious path every time, especially against Boix and stuff, okay? If you're on blue side of the map, he starts... Oh, well, I mean, low elo, the junglers always start on the bot side.
Yeah, they always do blue, don't they?
All right, so you're not going to get ganked until 4 minutes. All right, so like... Always, but sometimes they might start on the...
Well, you're saying if you're blue side, if he's blue side...
Yeah, if you're blue side, then you won't get ganked till 4 minutes because he'll
do blue, get a leash, and then go top side, right?
do a gank reset.
But if he's on red side, he also won't get ganked.
Correct.
Yeah, because they always get leash.
You're not going to get... Yeah.
Right.
But...
Would you say how... But what elo is that specifically? You're saying you're in gold, that happens?
Yeah, that happens every single game.
He's serious?
Yeah, pretty much all that I've reviewed.
That is unbelievable.
I know. No one knows about anything about win conditions. It's just about, I get a faster leash, so am I clearing my jungle? Because no one can clear the jungle camps properly.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I got a lot of work to do as a jungle coach. That's why I have your first jungle clear. All right. Next question here is from Leper Cooper. I think I've seen him in our comment section.
Okay.
Maybe.
G'day, Leper Cooper.
All right, so he's a older player, 30 years old, and been playing since Season 2. He's Bronze 1. He's been a consistent Bronze player, okay, playing since Season 2. Since that time, I haven't put a lot of games in to change that until Season 9, so last season he started playing a bit more. He says he ravenously consumes heavy educational content. He tries to review his games either alone or with a high-ranked friends. He says his issue, he believes, is he suffers from analysis paralysis. He thinks he has an improvement mindset and my mental is improving but not perfect. I have no idea how to focus down all of the things I need to work on, and I end up overwhelming myself and second-guessing my learning objectives constantly. How do I determine what my learning objective should be when every area of my gameplay needs improving? Now, I'm not a mid laner or a jungler, but even as a top laner, the content you'll produce is better. Okay.
So he's saying essentially he...
So it sounds like he's overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed with the amount he needs to improve on, and he suffers from analysis paralysis, which is... Should a Bronze player even be reviewing their games?
No, I don't tell people to review their games until gold.
No. Yeah. you're overcomplicating the shit out of the game. Even okay, you know how you say here, Leper, that you randomly consume heavy educational content. You're just getting confused.
Okay, one thing, my theory. This is again my theory for mid laners specifically. I don't know if this is for junglers.
Yeah.
My theory is that Iron to Silver 1 is basically a test, like an entry level exam. So like when you do, I don't know what if it's the same as like school or university or like a workplace job. It's like an entrance level exam, just so you like know that you can like read and write. In League, it's like the reason Iron to Silver 1 exists, in my opinion, is it's a test for a few things. One is overall basic game knowledge. Like, do you know what all the champions in the game do, what their abilities are, basically what their like very basic champ identities are. And including that is your champion's identity, probably to a little bit higher standard. Number 2, can you control your mouse and your keyboard effectively and literally like micro-wise? Are you confident in being able to, if you know what, say you want to click a minion and last hit, can you actively do that? Number 3 is character control and camera control. Sorry, like can you literally move your character around without losing control of your camera, and can you pan your camera effectively? Can you soak in all that information? And number 4, like basic trading patterns. You know how to take a basic trading pattern and CS effectively. Okay. And last one obviously is just basic team fighting. Like if you know how to do all those things, which is literally nothing special, that literally should either get you to Silver 1 or Gold 4. That's just the baseline.
So don't worry about wave manipulation.
No, wave.
Don't worry about macro.
Nah.
Don't worry about even champion strength. Like this champion counters X champion.
No, not counters. Don't talk about counters either. Yeah.
So this is what I fear, and I've seen people go down the rabbit hole on YouTube, especially with like skill capped and pro guides content. For like again bronze silver players, it actually makes them a worse player. It's good content. It can help. Usually, I would say that the skill cap pro guide stuff that's very good for like I would say helping people get from like high gold onwards. Or like it's good for platinum players and stuff like that. But everything Curtis just said there, in terms of the test, just character control, map movement, map winners. One thing here, Leper, do you play on locked camera or unlocked camera?
Yeah, unlock. Does he play on a laptop? Does he play with a trackpad?
Yeah.
It's like real. I'm serious. Like, it might be fine. I mean, I don't know what your setup is like, because one other thing that concerns me here is that you've been bronze 1. You've been consistently bronze. My theory as well is most people that are bronze are the players that, unfortunately, are not natural gamers. We've had we know people that are just natural gamers who played other games.
Our age, even when we were 18.
Yeah, and even right now they're 25.
Yeah,
and they come back to the game and they can instantly get to like Silver 1 gold, gold 4. And the reason is not because they're better, like they're not good at the game or anything. It's just they just naturally know how to control their character.
They have a good setup. They understand their mouse and keyboard.
Yeah,
and they understand character movement.
Yeah,
like damage, mana, health, like all sort of stuff.
Just all like the very basic things. So that's why I say, man, honestly, your best bet would be to literally play Annie. Your best bet would.
He says he's not a mid lane. He's a top laner.
Oh, he's a top laner. Okay.
What would we recommend for top laners?
A simple top laner.
Is Renekton? Renekton doesn't scale well enough.
I was thinking like Ornn. Not like Ornn.
Yeah.
What else is what's a solid top laner?
I don't want to recommend Nasus, dude.
No. I mean, when I think of really easy, I mean, Renekton surely would be good, wouldn't it? Because I've literally, I haven't mentioned top at all to many of my. I mean, I haven't looked at top in a long time in low.
Jax, I think Jax.
You think Jax?
Jax is pretty simple.
Okay.
Jax is just a hard carry champion. I wouldn't recommend Camille.
No, not Fiora. No.
Darius.
Darius is beautiful, dude.
Darius, yeah. So Darius and Jax, I would recommend.
Darius is so
Go all in Leper on Darius and Jax.
Ornn as well. Isn't Ornn so good?
Okay, because Ornn can do damage.
Yeah, Ornn can do damage, man.
Okay. Ornn, I feel like you would need to understand how to carry.
Darius is so good, but man.
You know how to do damages. Like Ornn, you need to know how to do damage. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the way to use your ability rotations and like your flamethrower spit and stuff like that. But Jax and Darius are just pretty simple kids.
Love Darius,
Trinimia?
Man. I think Trinimia is actually hard.
Yeah,
I think Trinimia is hard.
Well.
So yeah, like very simple top lane champions.
That can get out of control.
Renekton Darius, honestly. Just play Renekton Darius.
I still think Jax. I'm a Jax.
Okay.
I'm a Jax.
And I don't want you to think about anything else but apart from the very basic, like we mentioned. That's it, dude. Unfortunately. And I'm not trying to say, I'm not saying this in a condescending way at all. I'm literally saying what I genuinely believe is to be the case. Unfortunately, the way it is, some people are just naturally struggle picking up the basics. But once you get those basics down, it should be a pretty smooth sailing from there. You know, once you get all those things down pat.
Yeah, you won't be stuck in bronze anymore, guarantee you that.
Yeah. Oh, it's Valixas.
All right, Valixas here. How do you know Valixas?
Hey, Valixas, I did a bit of coaching with their team. Their
Okay.
he has like an amateur team. I see him in SoloQ occasionally.
All right, so Valixas's email question here is ELO equals ego ?
Okay.
So he says his question for us may be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but apparently this is just killing him. He has to ask this.
Okay.
Here is some context. He's currently Diamond 1 and sometimes get into games with Master players, GMs and challengers. In these games, if something goes wrong due to myself or team misplaying, the high elo players are very quick to point the finger at Diamond players for the reason to, why they lost the game. It's like, FF, I got Diamond matchmaking, I'm unfair. He says, just yesterday, he had a certain player in jungle who called everyone in the lobby Pisslow randoms, who should be banned for inting because the game was looking hard to win, but was 100% still winnable. His question is it okay for high ELO players to have an ego? Is it okay for high players to put Diamond players down? I'm out here doing my best to improve. I'm not delusional. I know my game has room for improvement, hence why I'm queuing up for ranked and doing my best to improve. How can I improve when high ELO players want to give up at 15 just because they have Diamond players on their team? Does ELO actually equal ego?
It's a very interesting question. All right. There's lots to unpack in this one, I think. I mean, I've seen it.
No, but you playing this. So he's from OS, obviously.
He's honest. He's honest ADK.
Yeah.
I see him occasionally in my games, actually.
Okay.
How do I approach this question? There's so many areas. I would say...
All right. Well, my first initial thing is you need to focus instantly on what's out of your control. And unfortunately, right now, you can't control...
You mean what's in your control?
Well, sorry, what's in your control.
Yeah.
What's out of your control is, you can't... this person saying this to you, pisso randoms, like, it's just... That's just the way the game is right now. So the first thing is you just need to adapt to this.
Okay. We've actually mentioned this on the podcast before with traditional sport.
Yeah.
And the way I view it is I think someone else had this, I don't know where I got this question, but it's saying, I actually had this question somewhere in my Discord saying, I was actually big in traditional sport. I played a lot of football, whatever it was. And when I get frustrated or when I get angry, I have a way to release my, my adrenaline, my testosterone or whatever it is. I can just hit, punch, I can, tackle harder, I can run faster, I can do things more aggressively and let it out.
Yeah.
But in League, he doesn't have that outlet. And I feel like for League, when you get to the high level, it is very...
The games are decided very quickly off basic plays, definitely.
But the games are very intense and much more... There's a lot more emotions. There's a lot more at stake.
And matchmaking is... Yeah, it is potentially an issue in high elo. I would say that it does affect things.
No, but what I'm saying here is that these players who say these things, it's just a way for them to express their frustration.
That's
because
right.
They don't have the outlet. They don't have that outlet that introduces what they have. When they're frustrated, they can shit talk their opponent in front of them. They can tackle them. They can run faster. Again, they have more physical outlets. We don't have physical outlets when you're sitting on a computer chair.
I mean, you're stuck in that game for 40 minutes as well. I mean, it's a pressure cooker. League of Legends is a pressure cooker game.
Yeah, and
then people queue up for 6 games, 7 games in a row. I mean, the key thing here is like, okay, when I say like you need to adapt to this, it's like you need to have the empathy for these players in a weird way.
In a weird way. It's in a weird way. I know
so
what you
mean. You need to understand where they're coming from.
I mean, I had like a shocking game on stream the other day, like inting on Jace, and I was getting flamed. I just copped it because I would flame them too if I was in my position. Like that was a shocking game. Like I'd be so frustrated this top laner. But I think there's 2 things to this as well to help you get a better perspective of it. One is the way I view sometimes high elo is like it's the barrier to entry. It's like can you deal with the shit? Are you mentally strong enough to overcome adversity and deal with it and get past it? Like every player at some point on their climb has been gotten abused by people.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, on my first climb to challenge when I got ranked 2, I was literally getting abused all the time. Schoenfire is a perfect example.
Schoenfire
he got obliterated. He was a meme.
I think Schoen got probably the abused the most out of every solo queue I've probably ever seen.
Yeah, definitely.
He got abused every single game. Like he was hated, dude. Everyone thought he was a meme. And Schoenfire became then rank 1. You know, the best jungler in host.
Yeah, one of the best junglers of all time.
But he became so good at dealing with that shit. Like he just proved them wrong with his actions. I think that's really the mentality you got to adopt, man. Is that yes, these people's not saying you should have an ego, because again, these players, especially the one that you're talking about here, they're all trash. They're garbage. All these players that just talk and generally most players that have these really big egos aren't even that good at themselves. And they're just doing it as a defense mechanism, and they're incredibly insecure. Most players, unfortunately, the state of league right now is that there are a lot of insecure people. Okay, I don't want to go too deep on this, but there is an element, and this is something maybe we'll talk about more, is just the unfortunate state of gaming at the moment. There's a lot of people who are great at gaming because they weren't good at anything by coincidence, because they weren't good at anything else. They weren't good at school. They weren't good with women in school. They weren't great at traditional sport. They weren't whatever. They didn't have many redeeming factors. So they spent all their time playing games. And then because they spent a lot of time playing games, they got very good at this specific game. Now, the only way they got confidence or felt good about themselves was through the game. Now, you can't blame them, can you, for them feeling a little bit saying things like this and being very egotistical, because that's the only way they feel good about themselves, through this medium. So this is for the empathy sake of it. It's you can kind of resonate, understand why they would be like that. Not to say I'm justifying their actions, but this is at the moment the sad state of League. I don't think this will be the case for a long period of time. I think this is right now, because the best players won't be like that in the future, because you have to go through these systems and things like that. But as of now, you can be kind of toxic and get away with it and be good, but that won't exist forever.
Well, once you start understanding and again having the empathy for these players, again, I think that what we just said will help you understand them a bit more. Once you understand something, you become more comfortable with it. It's oh, okay, that's why he's saying that.
But I do think a few things will help you here. Is that you got to internalize the fact that I think your mentality is good. It's I'm just going in to improve and have a crack, dude. Just mute all. Mute all and use pings.
Yeah.
Unmute pings and mute all. And if they ping, you mute their pings. Mute all is an incredibly effective tool. Now, mute all until you get good or get better to the point where you actually are quite happy with your gameplay, or maybe you do get to Grandmaster, or it is whatever it is, in which, maybe you can start to unmute and communicate with your team or whatever it is. But I think that muting all will be quite important for you. And I mean, I've seen you and played in your games, and I think that I think you are a player that is largely in your head. You seem very in your head, and you seem like you lack confidence. And I think the only way, the main reason you're losing confidence is because you're actually listening to these people. This person specifically, we're not going to name names here, but you can't listen to these people.
You're taking, what they say for gospel. It's I am just a pistol. It's starting to become an identity level. We talked about this in the last podcast. It's
that becomes
I'm just the Pistolo diamond versus no, I'm currently diamond, and this is where I am on my journey. But Sherm would have said as well, it's I'm maybe memed now, but guess what? I'm gonna be better than you in the year.
And that's why you got to connect with a role model. What inspires you? For Sherm, it was actually Naruto. Naruto, that character, he actually was he resonated with him because Naruto was all alone, and then he just grinded. And it became the best, Hokage or whatever. He did that over time. That was his way of his role model, his way of doing it. And I think that you, man, need to mute all. You need to connect with a role model, and you need to have the mindset. It's fuck everyone else. I'm here to improve, and that's all that matters. And these people may have egos. I can maybe understand why they have egos, and that's fine. They're not important to me. What's important to me is playing and expressing my best self and playing my best League of Legends. If you have to mute, you have to mute. Go next. These people are not important. And the people that are abusing you, by the way, they will not be successful. They're the people, that guy as well, they're not successful. And they won't last.
All right, next question here is from Cyka, from your Discord, apparently. Okay. He says you can call me Sam. All right, Sam.
Sammy, mate.
Sam's question here. In physical training for sports or bodybuilding, basically anything physical, you can apply the concept of phase potentiation, which is the concept of sequential training for best results. For example, if I wanted to become the best powerlifter, I wouldn't just train for power. I would first train the underlying mechanisms that allow me to become the best powerlifter. I would first train for muscle growth. Then I would train for strength. So I could use the muscle growth I've developed. You physically can reach a maximum strength before you need more muscle tissue to become stronger. And then I'll train for speed, velocity of movements. Using the strength that I've developed, you can physically reach a maximum of speed before you need more strength. And the result would be an athlete's ready to start training, then they start ready to training for powerlifting. So his question is, in the case of League of Legends, if the final result or goal is to become the best micro mid laner, do you think that there must be a sequential order which you progress physical, fundamental? In the case for League of Legends, it's more of a mental sport. Layers before actually trying to become the best micro mid laner. Is there a sequential order, Curtis, towards things? Can you utilize this powerlifting?
That's so interesting.
Using muscles as an example.
Well, did you know about this? It's so interesting.
This is interesting, isn't it?
I mean, I never even knew that existed. I think that's such an interesting.
You can't be a powerlifter unless you've got these other things down.
Yeah.
The muscle growth, the basic fundamentals.
I mean, this is something I think I need to think about way more.
I agree. I think this is a very interesting question.
This is something maybe we could even do like a whole segment on it, like a podcast.
Well, let's get our initial thoughts out here.
I mean, I do think that you need to have other elements of the game down pat before you focus on the micro, at least to a basic level.
Okay, so so for me, for jungle, I need that. I need you to have character control and stuff like that.
Yeah, all the character control, camera control.
Unlocked camera. Then for me, it will just be simply just speed of clearing jungle camps. That just must be just done, 100%. 2, knowing what to do after you've done your first clear, whether that's like in a full clear or like 3 camp, gank, and understanding the key factors that are at play, meaning what's a good gank and then what's a bad gank. For me, okay? So then those are the first things I'm already thinking of.
Oh, that's genius. It's actually the exact same for mid lane. You need to know what a great trade looks like in order to find ways to optimize it. Right? So you can't because the point of micro at the end of the day, right? If we actually break it down to the most fundamental level, the point of good micro is to both avoid damage and get more damage off. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
It's to deal the most amount of damage in the shortest period of time with avoiding the most damage.
That's right.
Okay. Or taking damage that you only want to take. Okay. Now, if you are unsure about what a great trade looks like or what sort of trades you're trying to bring about, what the outcome you're trying to bring about is, because maybe you actually do want to take a bit of damage, but you only want to take damage from that one ability and you're going to dodge the other 2 abilities. And then you're doing it because you're going for this certain trade. Well, then you can really, you can't just say, that's actually such a good point. You can't just say, get better at micro. Well, tethering is something you can kind of actively improve on, in which you do need understanding of the champion's ranges. So you probably obviously need 60, 70 games in order to even get better at the micro element, because you need to understand the ranges of the champ identity and what sort of trades the champion wants to take. Then you go to the micro, the tethering, the dodging abilities, the weaving auto attacks, that sort of thing, because then you know what a great trade looks like in that matchup. Because let's just say, for example, you're playing Orianna into Syndra. So you're playing Orianna into Akali. Okay. Now, I can say, focus on your micro as Orianna, and you come into this matchup. Well, you may not know you may ask, why do I need accurate clicks? Why do I need, how do I actually improve my micro within these trades specifically? Well, what that would look like would be, tethering his fleet footwork movement speed. It would be clicking close to your character. It would be doing fadeaway Qs while Akali looks to posture up for a Q. It would be, again, dodging those E's when Akali goes for shurikens. It would be keeping the wave in a good spot and, tethering the Akali as she's trying to get the wave. To be very specific things, because you're trying to bring out a certain result. So to put it in a clean way, I would say you got to have at least a vision, either see it in a VOD beforehand, someone else playing the exact same matchup, or have a pretty good idea of what the trade looks like, or what sort of trade you want to take. What abilities are you trying to avoid? What abilities are you trying to tether? What abilities do you want to take to the face in order to get this ability off? You got to have an idea of what you're trying to bring about, and then use micro and optimize your micro to help increase the chances of bringing that about. But you can't even get to that point with improving your micro if you don't have, like I said, you got to have pretty solid champ identity understanding. You got to have good matchup understanding, and you got to have good basic understanding of basically every other concept, essentially. Like basic leaning, basic warding, basic jungle tracking. Otherwise, you're just going to die to ganks 24/7. But I would say, and it actually ties me to a thing, it's easier to improve at micro once you already are very competent at a champion.
That's why champion mastery is so important.
Yeah, so if you played 100 games on, I think he's a Twisted Flag player, you play, or like a Orianna, say you play 100 games on Orianna, it becomes progressively easier to get better at the micro as Orianna the more games you play. Because of the knowledge aspect and also your matchup understanding is going to be much better.
Well, it's like when you talked about in your video about the peripheral vision. You can start focusing less on where your character is.
Exactly.
And more about what's going on around your character.
What are they doing? You know, you focus more attention on what they're doing rather than what you have to do. Yeah, for sure. But this is, I think, this is a really interesting concept because, you know, I get this question asked a lot on my YouTube and anything on my Discord. It's like, what order should I actually
improve at things?
What order should I watch the video?
Oh, your videos. Interesting.
And like, what should I focus on in like what order? And I actually can't even answer this question. I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure this out. Because it feels like I'm so far away I'm not the norm of like a player learning the game. I've played the game for so long.
It's hard to relate now.
It's really hard for me to relate. Like, I don't know what you should and shouldn't be focusing on at the very beginning. Like, I know what you should, like all the things that you should know, but I don't know what order. Like, this is essentially what he's saying. Like, what order should I do things, you know? And I think this is something we both need to figure out. And I really like this analogy, Sami. I think it's super, super interesting. And hopefully I put you on a rough trajectory there. For sure. Very interesting.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our Q&A for today, Curtis. Wrap up the podcast.
Yep.
Any housekeeping we need?
That's about it, man.
I think that's about it.
Make sure you make a note of that question on your notepad right now.
Okay.
Sami, what's that sequential, like sequence of learning or something?
Right on, like a sticky note, and you can just think about it, you know?
Yep. But I think that's about it for today, and we will see you for episode
14.
All
right. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.